Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hollywood Persona podcast. My name is Mitch, and I am here with Ant and Andrew. Ant and Andrew, how are you guys?
Excellent.
Thumbs up from Andrew.
Glad to be back.
Hey, we can do the thumbs down. Some people will get what that means.
Yeah.
We have not recorded in quite some time, and it feels good to be back. I've been wanting to do this, and it's just, you just got to do it. But we've talked about doing it 100 times. So here we are. We're back. Anyways, for any listeners who don't necessarily know us, Ant and I have recorded about 80 episodes of the Hollywood Persona together. But if you're just jumping in now, my name's Mitch Burns. I live in Canada and I love movies. I love talking about movies, obviously. And Ant, I don't know if you want to maybe just reintroduce yourself for any new listeners.
Yeah, Anthony Dadgis, big movie fan, have been now for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. I got really into movies. Just one day I just decided it's fun because Andrew's story is similar. And I've worked at the AMC as a bartender. I worked for Cinema Score, and that enabled me to meet other people who like movies like Andrew.
Yeah. And Andrew, if you would like to introduce yourself, I know you and I have recorded together at least once or twice, but we have our own group chat where we talk about the insane amount of movies that Andrew watches. But you were just telling me how many you've watched so far in 20.
Yeah.
Reveal that number?
Let me start with the intro for myself.
Yes.
And I'll segue into that. Yeah, my name's Andrew. I mentioned being a bartender and that's how I met Ant through that, and he led me on this path as well with being a part of this. I maintain a Letterboxd account that I probably watch a sickening number of movies every day. On the weekends, it's probably even worse for that number sometimes. And so far this year, I've watched about 356 movies since January 1st.
You're like 10 days away, or wait, 365. Yeah, reverse that. And then you're at a movie a day for the year already. So what were you last year on Letterboxd?
At the end of the year, I was at 13. But let me give you the accurate number here. 1,430 movies I watched in 2025 from January.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
When you say to us in the group chat, I have a problem, and Ant will sometimes be like, yeah, no, you don't. No, I think you do. I will now take back all of Ant's times he has said, no, you're fine. You have a problem, and rehab is coming.
And I want to add that he reviews all of
you need to follow this guy on Letterboxd because his reviews are great. Sorry to talk over you, Ant. We're right back to where we used to be, but
because for someone to conflate said their number like as a competition, but he writes in-depth reviews, so I know he's watching them.
Yeah. Sometimes if I'm watching a movie late at night or towards the end, 11 o'clock at night, the review's going to be garbage. I'm just going to be straight up and say that because it'll be like a paragraph long, and then I may or may not have been awake during part of it, and I'll admit it in the review. Most of the time, I'm usually awake and functionally engaging with the movie, but then there's some that just don't hit me as much as I want to.
Hey, I watched all 9 hours of Showa during COVID there, and I would say there's probably not a lot of it I remember, but it's the experience, right?
Yeah.
Today, we're almost into the 4th month of 2026, but we would at some point like to go over our top 10s and what we loved about 2025. So I think that will be our next episode. I know Andrew is ready to go with that list, and I'm definitely excited to hear his, but we weren't as prepared for it tonight. This meeting of the minds tonight is to really talk about Project Hail Mary. I think we have some differing opinions. Ant himself has read the book as well as has just seen the movie. And we've all seen the movie, obviously. but he was just the last to see it. A rare moment where we were waiting on him to see the movie and not waiting me to see it. I'm really excited to talk about that. If we have some time, we'll talk about The Bride. Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride with Christian Bale. We might get into that a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to introduce ourselves back into the game, and hopefully we'll have regular episodes, whether it's just me and Andrew or me and all three of us or whatever timing allows for. They're both waiting for me to watch Scream 7 so we can have a discussion on that. So that might be in next week's. If we can pop that in. Andrew, you're out on the road these days. I like your hat. You're looking like a country boy. How you liking it?
I love it, man. It's
Good.
great. It's great.
You're in your truck right now, right?
I am. I'm in my home, which is also my truck. Yeah, it's great, man. On a dedicated account for Bass Pro Shops, which is why I'm wearing the hat. And that is nice. Every kind of route has its own benefits. This one's nice because I go to the same places. I stay in the Southeast, which means no snow. I've been before, so I'm getting used to the people that are near there. I'm getting used to the restaurants and bars and stuff that I can go to when I'm early or late. So it's great. So right now I'm in the Florida Keys. Tomorrow I'll drive north up to Miami, make a second stop, and then I'll head back up to Macon, Georgia, which is a little south of Atlanta, and do it all over again. It's been great.
Yeah, and you're from Georgia. That's where,
Yeah, both Andrew and I are from Atlanta, or the Atlanta area.
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask Andrew. But are you got a Monster?
No, it's a Red Bull. I love these, man. Gallons of these sugar-free pink ones. They're so good.
So, Andrew, I did mean to ask that you are from Georgia as well.
Yeah. And I had lived in the area near the AMC and had moved further south of Atlanta earlier last year, or about this time last year.
Okay.
Yeah, the drawback is, of course, for me, it's you're doing weird things with.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, basically trips to the Tarot Theater and the Plaza Theater are a bit of a longer trek versus what they were, which was like 10 minutes away. So that's the one thing.
Those are local art house theaters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of theater, since we're talking to you, I don't know if you mind letting the people know that you just finished your third run in a play and pretty active in the local theater scene. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just involved in a production of Hollywood Arms in Noonan at the local Noonan Theater Company. This was my third production that I've done since last year. I think I probably could maybe even blame watching so many movies for doing acting. Obviously, I'm not having any expectations of making a career out of that, but it's a fun diversion from that, and watching a lot of movies at night, in the mornings, at nights, and on the weekends, and then doing that as well at night. So that's the cool thing about it.
I always think like that I could act, and then I see something like Jesse Buckley in Hamnet, and I'm like, I couldn't do that. I could not do that. But
Yeah.
the general cadence of an actor, I think most of us have down, because all three of us can spot out bad acting, right? If you were going to act, you have an idea of what not to do, at least. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I would probably say Jesse Buckley's performance in Hamnet was the motivation for me when I was doing my current play.
Good.
I liked that. For me, that movie was probably one of the best movies of last year, but we obviously can't talk about that on today's show. Of course not.
Talk about it next week.
Yeah,
You and I might share that opinion, and there's a third person who might not.
I will just say her performance was incredible.
I agree.
That's
okay.
Yes.
incredible.
I've missed you guys. Let's talk about a movie that you can see in theaters right now. This is Project Hail Mary, and it is 2 hours and 36 minutes. And it felt that long. but I think it felt that long because of the way it's told in parts. And anyways, we'll get into that. But Ryland Grace, played by Ryan Gosling in this movie, he awakes from a coma on a spacecraft, and he basically has retrograde amnesia. He doesn't understand why he's on the spacecraft. He is going around the spacecraft and trying to figure things out. And eventually we learn things throughout flashbacks and as he makes his way about the ship. And the trailers, we're going to get into spoilers pretty quick.
Yeah, I was going to say we should give general thoughts and then spoil, but it made a bunch of money, so lots of people have seen it. We should definitely spoil it to talk about it.
I think we should basically just get into spoil. This should just be a spoiler talk right from the start, because it's so hard to defer people are going to see as a spoiler or not. There's something that was given away in the trailer that I've heard from many people doesn't happen until like over halfway into the book. And so that's stuff I want to talk about with someone who has seen the book or read the book. And
yeah, let's do a spoiler discussion.
Okay, so yeah, Project Hail Mary, Ryan Gosling, he wakes up aboard his ship, and I don't need to give too much, but essentially he has been put aboard this ship through several ways. He was made to go on this journey because he is the science officer aboard the ship. Because, you know what, Anne, I'd rather have you explain this a little bit, like what's going on with Venus and the sun and astrophage.
Yeah, the scientists around the world notice what's called the Petrova line, which is a line of some material going from the sun to Venus in the sky. They send a mission to go sample it, and they bring it back, and they name it astrophage. It's a weird material. It doesn't respond to lots of things like normal matter does. And they realize that it's dimming the sun. And of course, that means basically the end of life on Earth eventually. And then as they've looked at other stars throughout the galaxy, they've noticed that it's like a virus. It's spreading to sun, to star, to dim them all. And it's basically eating it like humans do with our resources we consume.
Yeah.
And they've measured the dimming amount of the sun. So they have 30 years or so before about half of people on Earth would probably die from starvation. And so, of course, the world has to come together. Similar to The Martians or Interstellar, like where we have to collaborate to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Brian Gosling as the science officer on board, but he wakes up with this amnesia, like you said, not really sure how he got there or why he's on the ship. He's on a star system called Tau Ceti, which is 11 light years away, because this one star, Tau Ceti, for some reason, isn't dimming. It has a Petrova line, but it's not being destroyed for some reason.
Yeah. So essentially, like through flashbacks, it's called Project Hail Mary because we do get to see the entire project as it moves along through flashbacks with him and Sandra Huller, who you might remember from Anatomy of a Fall, Zone of Interest. She was in that as well. Those are the two big names. There's a couple other people I recognized. Ryan Gosling, a middle school teacher, and then they come to him because he has a bachelor's degree in he's a molecular biologist. He wrote a paper and he gets roped into it. It is very reminiscent of Bruce Willis in Armageddon almost. We need you because you're really good at this. And although this makes a lot more sense because he's actually a scientist.
Not a trucker or an oil driller.
I kept thinking of that through this movie, though, and thinking about how Ben Affleck made fun of Armageddon because he's like, why wouldn't they just teach astronauts to drill? And the director, shut up.
Apparently that's on the commentary, the director commentary track.
I got to listen to that. So he kind of gets brought aboard because he figures things out. He figures out how the cells can be killed and how they can also be reproduced. And he really gets things going. And we'll get into all that a little bit later. I think we should probably talk about our general views. And I'd love to hear your general thoughts on the movie.
Sure, yeah, and I want to hear Andrew's next.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I had high anticipation for this. Like you said, I read the book, and actually I listened to the audiobooks. Some people call that not reading the book. I don't know.
All I do is audiobooks.
Well, I'm on the road, so I have material to do. And one thing that was such a relief was voice used for Rocky in the audiobook was hired for the movie. So when Rocky spoke, it was the voice I'd been hearing through the book. I'm like, no way, that's him.
Okay, cool.
Whenever you listen to reviews of people who've read the book first, all they do, the book did this, the book did that, and they compare it. And to me, I find that pretty annoying. I hate when reviewers do that. So I'm going to try not to do that. A lot of times book readers say, oh, the movie never compares. It can't live up to it because it's in your own imagination. I would say this lived up to it. Of course, they cut some stuff out and don't go into as many details, but you can't because it already feels long at 2.5 hours. Yeah, I loved it, man. I thought it was great. I'd see it again. I have a little bit of problem with Ryan Gosling, though, and we can go into that once I hear maybe Andrew's nitpicks. He's fine mostly, but I have one thing that I can get you both to agree with me on if we want to talk about nitpicks later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the score was really impressive and helped set the emotional tone. When he's doing that fishing mission on Tau Ceti and you see the swirl that looks like the underside of Jupiter, I thought that was beautiful. And I saw this IMAX alignment. And yeah, lots of tension. I thought the creativity building Rocky out of a puppet was pretty well done and realized. I liked it. I thought it was great. I got an emotion. I felt a real emotional connection between Rocky and Dr. Grace. Maybe because I have that built in from knowing the book. And that's why when we were texting Andrew, I said, I could see how maybe if you don't have this relationship already, you might not feel much. But yeah, I did. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's Rocky. That's Dr. Grace. But yeah, I thought it was great. Andrew, what do you think of it?
I will probably preference it with I haven't read the book, so my familiarity with Project Hail Mary was not to your level of awareness. So for me coming into it, I didn't see it in IMAX at all. I saw it in normal vision. I wasn't too enthused on it when I came out of the movie. I felt like the runtime for it was longer than it needed to be, and for the amount of time it had, I felt like there was not a story that justified the length. I felt like it was very much spinning its wheels for the majority of the time, and it tried to build moments of connection through the scenes, and it just felt like Ryan Gosling was just essentially mugging for the camera for the entire movie. I've seen Gosling in other movies where he's done exceptional work, like Blue Valentine, for example, where the camera is focused on Gosling and he makes the best of what's there. But with this, I felt like there wasn't really that much of a connective tissue for me as someone watching it with him and Rocky. I felt like with Rocky, I felt like I was looking at a walking slab of steaks that were patched together rather than sentient rock formation. I felt like the movie was a bit overhyped, to be honest. And I think some of that's due to the ad campaigns that the movie, I went to Regal, and Regal had at least 3 trailers about Project Hail Mary, including one that's advertising a soda in there. And so by the time you see the movie, it's screw this. I wanted the movie, like, I wanted the movie to have been more than it was. And for me, for examples of movies where you didn't have to read the book to understand it, like Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, you did not have to read either of those books to understand the story for them. With Project Hail Mary, I felt like a lot of the science was brought up, but it didn't feel something that was story driven with that. It was just thrown out there. And I realized that I'm probably one of the few people that just didn't like the movie. So yeah, that's where it left me at.
What about you, Mitch?
Yeah, it's funny listening to you, Andrew. I was ready to just shit all over you, but I can definitely see where you're coming from. But I did love this movie quite a bit. And you talk about the science, and I just feel that they did what they could with the science in this movie. And there was obviously like jumps in this movie, right? Where it was snap, oh, we just got to do this, right? And in the book, there's probably more time to build that and stuff. And the movie took a little bit more time to work on the characters than it did the science, and took more time to build that emotional connection between him and Rocky, and then even him and Sandra Hüller's character, which it worked for me. But I definitely understand what you're saying about him mugging to the camera. Blue Valentine is not what they wanted for this.
But
It felt way too much like Fall Guy. It almost felt like they could have got Ryan Reynolds and had a similar cadence. He was almost going for a Ryan Reynolds thing. Gosling oozes likability. He doesn't have to do anything. And this definitely did feel like, especially for the first 45 minutes when it's like just him and he's like uncovering stuff and he's talking to himself and he doesn't have anyone to bounce off of really. I was definitely trepidatious about where it would go and if I would continue to be, not that I was fully annoyed by him, but if I would get there. And when things went the way they did, I was happy by the end. And I'm at 4.5 stars on this. I would love to see it again. I think on a bigger screen. I think the emotional connection between him and Rocky and how that all came about was great. Like the way it built on itself was very scared at first, learning each other. And of course, I'm sure you guys could agree it felt a lot like Arrival at times, but like that connection, maybe not, but because that movie was all about and trying to build that language between the two. And this movie had a lot of that, just like knocking, and then it turned into more humor. I felt like Rocky borderlined on Sheldon territory from like The Big Bang Theory. A lot of the same kind of humor.
I think he's more like Tars from Interstellar. Remember that walking thing?
Yeah.
I think he's a lot like Tars, where it has some humor, but because he doesn't understand it, because he's not human.
Yeah. I liked it, especially if you've known friends and people in your life who've had to learn the English language and things that don't make sense to them. Like when he says goodbye and he's, what do you mean goodbye? And then he says, see you later. And it's, you won't see me later. It's all confusing to him, right? So it's interesting. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So
But
let me talk about the nitpick I have about Gosling, since you were
yeah.
just about Gosling. So we've seen him in a ton of movies, right? La La Land, Barbie, Blade Runner, Drive. Oh, what's that one he did? Casey Affleck.
Oh,
Manchester by the Sea,
No, he's not in that.
Place Beyond the Pines.
yeah.
Thought he was great in that. But here was like, this really stuck out to me. So in movies like Land or Blade Runner 2049, he's playing a stoic, dour, muted character, and I think that works well for him. Here, he didn't get it at all ever. So let me give you 2 examples. When Rocky says, hey, I can give you some of my astrophage to get you back to your planet, he's not, oh my God, thank you. Oh, that's so exciting. I appreciate it. He's crying. He turns around. He's, wow, oh, really? You do that for me? Thanks. That's not that big a deal. That's just one moment. But like when he first meets Rocky, he goes down the tunnel and he sees the glass and he's like knocking on it. I think a scientist or another person meeting other life besides human for the first time would be like explosive in there. Oh my God, what does this mean? There's life on another planet. So he never really exudes like crazy excitement, or yeah, he's reserved and muted throughout a lot of this. And I thought that was not, I'm like, man, another person like so excited for some of this stuff. He's just trying to be too cool the whole time. And I don't know if that's a director's choice. This is Phil Lord and Chris Miller directing, and written by Drew Goddard. Drew Goddard did Cabin in the Woods and The Martian.
Yep.
I think, which are great. And of course, Cabin in the Woods is a landmark movie. Yeah, but I can see, Andrew, some of your points. A lot of it's rushed. And I really think the ending should have stopped before he went back to their own planet. Because, like you said, Mitch, a second ago, jumped so fast. So at the end of the movie, our two characters go to their separate planets. And Gosling realizes that the life they picked up on Tau Ceti has leaked into their supply and is going to eat all the astrophage before they can use it as fuel to get back to their home. So for him to turn around, find Rocky, get aboard Rocky's ship, get back to Rocky's planet, get a biodome set up for him to live in forever, I felt like that was just so compressed and rushed. That was like all that happened.
And what's that look like in the book compared to what we saw in the movie?
It's pulled out. Him locating Rocky, because for him to just turn his ship around, they've been knuckling at super speeds away. For
Yeah.
him to find him, and he's looking, and then he sees a tiny thing, and then he gets aboard the ship, Rocky's ship, and explains, all right, now how can we save what we have? So they really have to rush through it. And I think if they would have ended it right where he finds Rocky and gets on his ship and they put their arms around each other or whatever, I think that would have probably been better. Yeah, it was too long. It was probably too long.
Yeah, I guess I didn't have as much of a problem with that just because I knew it was already pretty close to the end and I knew there's only so much you could do. We've watched 3-hour movies. I would have been fine if they had wanted to add more to that, but I didn't find that ending part to be necessary to add more. I did really like this movie, but if I have to pick nits,
one of the things, one thing I want to praise the movie for, they didn't add most PG-13 blockbusters like this. Dr. Grace would have had a wife at home, a kid, a dead partner.
Yeah.
He skipped that. He was a loner. He didn't have anybody. And I think that helps toward his character because I guess the theme of, or the journey he goes on is he doesn't really have anything to live for necessarily. He's not evil, but he's just, I relate to that where I'm like, everything's fine. Or if I were to get hit by a bus tomorrow, it's fine. Yeah, I don't want to die, but I guess I'm not afraid to die or whatever.
Essentially, they sum it up like Sandra Huller's character says to him, you don't even have a dog. And to them, that's, you don't have anyone waiting at home if something were to happen.
And then he finds a connection with Rocky. And that's the emotional punch. So I want to ask you guys, did you guys tear up or cry? I didn't cry, but I definitely teared up at least once. Yeah, twice.
I didn't tear up at all.
Andrew has a black heart.
Apparently.
It's like the Grinch where it's like really small.
It just goes back my bone of contention with the movie. I just felt like the writing was just not there for any of that. My whole thing was I felt like Ryan Gosling's character was essentially, we're told he's smart because everyone in the movie says he's smart, but we never see him actually do things that make him appear to be smart. It's other people pointing things out to him, like Rocky pointing out to him what he needs to do in order to find the astrophage that they collect samples of.
Remember when he builds that box to contain them to find out that they are attracted to infrared light or whatever, and then when he loses the pieces, he finds them with the help of Carl, that security guard or whatever?
Yeah, Carl was one who was suggesting things. Like, it just felt like we're told Ryan Gosling's character, Dr. Grace, is smart because that's what the movie has set out for him to be.
Right.
The character's not smart on his own. It's just when other people are there, other characters are there, they make him appear to be smart.
I can understand that, but I think the book is a lot different because you can't compare. In the book, you're allowed to be inside the character's head, whereas in the movie, it's really hard to do that unless you have an inner monologue or whatever, a voiceover. And the movie chose not to do this. Always had Gosling bouncing off of someone, whether it be Rocky or Carl or Sandra Huller's character, or talking to the dead bodies on the ship and Rocky. Yeah. So it's just that was his character, and it ended up working for me, anyways. And yeah, I understand what you're saying. I get why that bothered you, and I thought of it, but it didn't bother me.
That's fine.
And to be fair, I probably watched too many movies, so I think some of it more speaks to what I do rather than
Yeah. Something you said earlier, Andrew, about seeing the trailer like 3 times or whatever, I think should push you toward my approach of no trailers, no marketing, no nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. While I'm walking, I'm not even paying attention to the trailers unless it's.
I'm half kidding. I'm half serious.
But this time with it's holy smokes, how many times are we going to see footage from this movie before the movie takes place?
Yeah.
And even after the movie's been out, I'm trying to watch another movie. I'm seeing a trailer for Project Hail Mary. I'm like, what's going on?
Hey,
You know?
but there's part of us as movie lovers who definitely need to celebrate this because
Yeah.
I know it was based on a book, so it had some following. And obviously, The Martian was a big hit, but that was 11 years ago. And we already, first weekend, we're at $140 million on a movie that is original, not a sequel, not a reboot. And so I think and I love what Ryan Gosling has been saying. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he has said, yeah, it's not up to the people to come to the theater just to see the movies. It's up to us to make movies that people want to come to the theater to see. They've got to be good enough. And it's fine, Andrew, that you didn't like this, but I obviously, as movie fans, we're all ecstatic to see something like this kind of get its due. And I'm seeing TikToks of teenagers like with plush Rockies going to see it again. And I'm like, cool. That's what it was like
Yeah.
for us when we were kids. I remember the first time I saw Lord of the Rings in the theaters and then Peter Jackson's King Kong. I was like, what is this? I've been transported to another world, right? And so, yeah, I'm not saying that you're being a downer Debbie or whatever. I'm just saying, I think that's all something we can agree on is that it's nice to see something original get its due.
Yeah. And I also want to say, I'm happy to see a movie where we all come together to collaborate as different nations. It was cool to see all these nations in a room together, working together to fix a problem. It's hopeful. It gives me hope.
But is there more of that in the book?
Yes, the team is very international in the book.
But is there more of what happens at the end in the book? Because all we get is Sandra Huller's character getting the capsules, basically, and then she holds up a walkie-talkie and says, let's begin. And that's all we get. So we don't know what we don't get anything, eh?
They don't go any further. They might not even go into the capsules reaching Earth in the book.
But
yeah,
it does go into Gosling's character, Ryland Grace. It goes into him being on Rocky's planet.
And they give him an option to build a ship to get him back home. They mine enough astrophage to make it. He has to decide, all right, I'm either going to stay here. And he lives in that dome, and they basically there's people around him all the time, or rocks around him studying. Right. They spend more time on Adrian. What was this planet's name? I don't know if we got a name.
Arid.
Oh, Arid. Yeah, Arid. Good call. I see we have 8 minutes left, so I don't know if we wanted to cover something else. But yeah, like I agree with what you said. It's nice to see this. This is a huge opening. 80 million. It opened at 80 million or something, which is the biggest of the year.
Yeah. Are you okay if we start one more time? Just because I have some more questions about the book and stuff. And I don't know, Andrew, or do you guys want to end it here?
I'm fine with it.
Let's end it at the 10 minutes because it's 10. It'll be 10. But then I only say that this place I'm at in the Keys, they knock on my window at 4:59 a.m. So I have to this is the only one that does that because of that parking situation I was telling you about. They have to be out of here as fast as possible because people in their boats come in here at 6 a.m.
My dad was just in the Keys. He's in the Keys right now. He's taking a friend's sailboat and they're sailing it over to the Bahamas.
Damn.
So he just flew down there. I didn't even think about that.
I bet he flew into Key West, which is another hour down the Keys from me. That's the closest to the Bahamas.
And you're working anyways, but
My time is, I have extra time here and there, but it's
Yeah.
hard to plan out. Did you want to talk more about Project Hail Mary?
Yeah, we got 6 minutes left. How did you all feel about the way it was edited? Because there was definitely a part of me that thought this could have been edited in one straight line. Is it like that in the book where it's interspaced?
Yeah, jumps around like this. And I actually thought it was done. I was wondering how they were going to do that. But the book starts with him waking up and not knowing how he's on this ship. And you remember the first scene is the robot's asking him what's 2 + 2.
Right.
He goes through that a bunch of times where he wakes up and he's, get out of my face. I don't care what 2 + 2, go away. And then he falls back asleep. Then he goes through that a lot. And then he finally answers 4. And then it moves on to the next part. But yeah, back to your question on how it's edited. I thought that can be a delicate dance, right? If tension's building up or the rocket explodes and then you jump back to a slow scene. But I thought it was
Yeah.
okay. I don't know, Andrew, did any of that sound negatively to you in the editing?
Yeah, but I wondered if that's just how they told the story as well.
Think it's better if it was in a linear fashion, like all of the Sandy Hewler stuff was early and then we see him launch. You think it'd be better that way? Or do you
I'm mixed on how I would feel about that because I think it would. I'm not exactly sure what would have helped the movie for me to make it better for me. I did feel like they jumped around too much, and there was also a lot of downtime in the scenes. Just didn't add anything story wise for me. So I think
there was something in your review that I agree with where you said his expertise was commented on about how great it is, but any scientist would know why something would go to Venus. This is mostly, the atmosphere is mostly CO2. So I did agree. Some of the stuff he explains, like when he walks into that room on the army
Yeah.
ship carrier and it's all scientists and military people, I'm like, they would know this shit. Come on.
Yeah, it seemed like they all already knew. It's really hard. It's a hard wire to walk. Do you make them completely scientific and maybe too scientific and unlikable, or do you?
You can alienate your audience if you stick to high level science stuff. The 9th grader might be like, what does CO2 mean?
Do you think he was too much of a goofball in the first hour? Is he like that in the book, or do you find that was more for the movie?
Oh, and in book, to me, he felt more professional and more like how I would imagine a college level scientist. He's very methodical and thinks through every possibility, very scientifically minded. No, I agree. His portrayal in the movie was a little goofier and, oh, shucks, look at me type character. But
Yeah.
we're just trying to Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to say if they got someone like Michael Fassbender to be Dr. Grace, I think the movie would have been very different and would have been more along that line because I think Fassbender, I saw him in Shame a couple of nights ago, and he comes across as a character. He's able to come across as someone able to play characters that pure intelligent, they are driven, but they don't dwell upon the fact that they're intelligent. But you can tell from their demeanor and how they act and how they respond to things that his character is intelligent.
They can't have Michael Fassbender because he's already David in the Alien franchise. I'm just assuming,
But
those are the best movies ever made, the Alien franchise, that these movies must take place in the same universe. I'm just fucking around. We got a minute or so left.
less than that, but yeah, go ahead.
Anyways, it's been great to talk to you guys. We will get this figured out and we will talk next week with our top 10. I'm going to sneak in a few more movies. Thank you, Ant. Thank you, Andrew. If you guys want to say anything else, where can we find you guys?
I'm on Letterboxd at AntPaul311, I think. And I wanted to say to you guys before we go, the summer box office wager thing. You guys down to do that again? Go ahead, Andrew.
I'm at Poeman553 on Letterboxd.
And I will put all of this in the links and stuff below. So it doesn't matter, but you can follow The Hollywood Persona everywhere. Instagram,